So how are
Hey,
things, man? You're in
man.
Miami?
Yeah, I'm here in Miami. I'm at home today. Where are you at? Look at you,
I'm in
power
the
move.
north of Portugal. I'm at a vineyard right now.
Drinking
That's
the
why
wine.
I have
What
the
a
wine.
fucking power move.
Well, what the thing was, dude, when I booked it, I had no idea what it was gonna be, and I just happened to be at this vineyard in the north of Portugal. This is
That's
where I'm
amazing.
at, man. It's really nice, man. You should come visit.
Dude, I was just in Portugal.
So I'm at a wine tasting.
I was in Portugal last year.
Hmm.
I went to Lisbon, which I loved. I was only there for 2 days, but then we went to Madeira. Have you been?
Oh no, I've never been.
Dude,
It's nice.
it is. I've been a lot of cool places, and that place it's special, man. If you ever get a chance to go, I mean, it's a short flight from you there. You should
Right.
try and check it out.
Yeah, it's high on my list. I met John Doherty. He's an SEO guy.
Yeah, yeah.
He came here last year too, and he went there and was like, "You're basically called me an idiot for not going there."
It's
So that was an endorsement.
it's very it's a very special place, man. Very very.
Okay, yeah, I gotta go there.
But anyways, so talk to me. What have you been up to lately?
Same stuff, man. Just writing blog posts, basically. I bought this tool, Exploding Topics. I know you saw that.
Yep.
So trying to figure out what to do with that, how to build that. That's basically it.
So what are your plans with that? I mean, what was like kind of your thought process in buying that tool?
Yeah. So the thought process was I had seen this paid newsletter called Meet Glimpse, and that was a tool that bubbled up like trending topics that were blowing up. And I was like, this is really cool. This is really interesting. I bought it.
Putting topics
And I was like, how can, but the problem with it, it only came out once a month.
with that, how to build that.
And it didn't seem that like it was only once a month and it was only like 5 trends or something. I'm like, man, there needs to be a way to get more of these, access these. This is like a cool idea, but it's not executed to the fullest. And then I saw this guy build this thing called Trend at the time. And I was like, this is perfect. This is like 10 times better than I would have imagined in my own mind. So I contacted him, and it turns out he'd been building it for like 6 months on his own and decided to buy it. And about 5 months ago, bought it and then rebranded it as Exploding Topics, and we launched it last month.
And it's free. It's free now, right? Completely
It's
free.
free now. Yeah, it's always going to be free. It's just a matter of like if there'll be a paid tier or like right now what we're really focusing on is a newsletter, because the first thing we notice is that people were telling us like we need a newsletter because I don't feel like coming to the site to find out about new stuff all the time. I want you to just I want you to just send me the best stuff. So
Gotcha.
the first thing we noticed is people are asking us for a newsletter, so we created that. I have a thing called Exploding Topics Tuesday, that every Tuesday we send people trends, and I'm thinking that's kind of the avenue I want to go, but I haven't really like fully fleshed it out yet.
And what's the difference between exploding topics and Google Trends?
Hmm. So with Google Trends, it's good. Yeah, it's good if you want to confirm a trend. So like, let's say you're looking at like chatbots, and you're like, oh, I want to see if that's trending up or down. And you go to Google Trends, and it tells you. But what Exploding Topics does is it tells you topics that you don't even know of yet. It bubbles up things you haven't even heard of. So Google Trends is useful if you already know something, but it's not a good discovery platform. It's not good for discovering new stuff. And that's what Exploding Topics does, is that it bubbles up stuff that you don't even know about yet.
So in regards to how an SEO or a marketer would use that in their process, it's for coming up with content topics, product ideation. How do you foresee people using that?
I mean, as a guy who runs a blog, like my initial thought was definitely content topics, right? It was like, if you can get in on the ground floor on all these content topics before they get competitive, it's a good place to be. But yeah, other people have used it for products, and also startups have used it for ways like new markets to get into or new products to create, or Amazon people have been like, oh, this category is blowing up. Like for example, one of the categories that's blowing up right now is beeswax wraps, and that's like beeswax you put on your face for whatever reason, and but it's blowing up. So it's a category that a lot of people are like, but if you don't know about it, you're not going to find out about it until someone tells you at a party or something. That's the benefit of the tool. As a content creator myself, I see it more through that lens. To give you an idea, one of the topics that's blowing up right now, according to the tool, is Uber Suggest, which I'm sure you've all heard of. Neil Patel bought it and expanded it. And I was like, oh man, this thing's blowing up. So I created a guide to Uber Suggest based on the fact that it's blowing up. And it was able to rank on the first page within a couple of weeks, just because the keyword's not competitive yet. But it will be, because people are going to search for it and be like, oh, this gets whatever, 40,000 searches a month. But it's only probably 10 right now according to the tools. But in reality, it's probably 30, because Ahrefs and SEMrush should take months to catch up to the actual search volume.
So are you able to talk about the data source? Like where are you getting that data from that's faster than Google? I mean, the SEO data is obvious, right? It takes months for that to actually register search volume, but Google Trends would be something. And I've always been unsatisfied with Google Trends. I think it's for huge macro trends, not necessarily for anything that's too actionable. But it seems like your tool digs into a little bit more into the micro and more actionable in terms of marketing and things you can want. So are you able to talk about where you're getting that data from that's more real time?
A little bit, yeah. So what it's not really real time. I mean, it is real time, updates every day, but it's more the proprietary technology is where we get the sources from. Because the key is bubbling up these trends, because the data is out there. Like if you, let's say beeswax wrap, you know about beeswax wrap, you put it into Google Trends, you're going to get good data on whether it's going up or down. And you can do a granular, like, oh, it's going up or down over the last 5 years, last year, how does it compare to different wraps? Is that on YouTube? Is it different countries, different states? It actually has really good granular data for a topic. But the issue is, how do you know about beeswax wrap in the first place? So not trying to compete with Google Trends in that sense. The proprietary technology is the scraping technology that scrapes terms and then automatically bubbles up terms that are appearing more often. And some of it's search, some of it's actually scraping Google Trends, some of it is scraping technology news, some of it's scraping Reddit, some of it's scraping some other sources like Amazon and shopping sites. So it's kind of a mixed bag, and that's why the data is interesting, because it comes from different places instead of just one. It comes from all different places that people tend to discuss things online.
Gotcha. And in terms of your go-to-market strategy for it, I mean, I know you reached out to a bunch of people to help promote it. What do you have planned? I mean, are you going to advertise for it? Is this something that you're just going to let natively pick up because of the traffic from Backlinko? How do you foresee growing this?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that right now, the being a tool, one of the advantages of a tool is that you bypass all the gatekeepers like Google and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, all those algorithms. And if it's useful, people will visit it directly. That's the goal. I mean, this is my first tool really, so we'll see how it goes. But that's kind of the idea, is that if it's useful enough, people will visit it over and over again. The first thing we did was a product hunt launch about a month ago. That's probably when I hit you up and asked you to help out with that. And that was amazing, man. If you've never done product hunt, if you launch a tool, or even it doesn't even have to be software. I've seen a lot of guides do well there, as long as they're not positioned as definitive guides. If they're, resources that that are useful to startup-y people. Got 20,000 visitors from product hunt. It was pretty insane. Number one product of the month, which helped a lot, but still, it's a good resource for launching a new thing. And it was something I'd never really thought of before. I probably underrated it. Probably could have launched a ton of things on there, but I was kind of it's cool, it's interesting, but Product Hunt's not really a great platform for getting tons of traffic. But I was totally wrong about that. It was amazing. In terms of the next thing, like I said, the main thing is the newsletter. And I think we're going to start sending paid traffic to the newsletter page to get more people to sign up for the newsletter. That seems to be what people love actually more than the tool itself, is the weekly newsletter, because then they don't have to keep visiting the tool, using it. They can just get our best stuff to our inbox. So that's kind of my emphasis right now. And ideally, I would the business model I'm looking at is the hustle. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Ryan.
Yeah. I do know that. So
the Skim or the Morning Brew, or those big newsletters that do sponsorships and getting tons of subscribers and then getting sponsors.
Yeah, I subscribe to Morning Brew. I love it. I read it every morning, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's exactly that model is amazing. But you need like so many subscribers. That's the thing.
Yeah. No, agreed.
They have
Agreed.
1 million subscribers. So
But it also fits in. I feel like that fits in well with what you're doing with Backlinko, because before we went live on Facebook, I was like, "What are you up to?" And you're like, "Still blogging." And I feel like the newsletter fits in very well with the content model that you've already built up. And I do want to talk about now that it's on my mind. I mean, so Backlinko is still doing well. You bought some websites in the past. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it seems like you've been publishing a lot more. I mean, I remember back in the day, you might do like probably a couple blog posts a month, right? But it seems like you've really scaled that up. Correct me if I'm wrong. Can you talk a little about why you decided to start creating more content?
Sure. So yeah, you're absolutely right that I've been able to scale up. It's not really a why, it's more like I have been able to. It's a how. I always wanted to, but I didn't want to sacrifice quality.
Mhm.
And it's tricky because you know how it is. Like you've run an agency yourself. You know how it seems to be like as scale grows, content gets worse. And I'm sure you've all followed blogs. Like I know I have. I'm sure you have. That they were great in the beginning, like, oh, this is a great blog, like it's so good, it's so helpful, and then they blow up and it starts to suck. They start to get guest authors, and they have contributors that you didn't follow in the first place that are writing stuff, and they start publishing like every day, and it's like, I don't really even read that blog anymore. I never wanted to become that blog because I had read so many like that I loved in the beginning, and then they started to fall off. But the issue was but on the other hand, if you want to grow, you need to publish more content. Doesn't need to be, you need to publish every day or every week, but you do need to publish more than once a month, which I was doing. Like 12 blog posts a month, 12 blog posts a year is tough to grow on. I was able to do it to a certain point, but like, let's say, like, because the problem is 5 of those will bomb. And then you have 8 blog posts for the whole year or something, 7 blog posts for the whole year. Like that's my entire business is going to grow on 7 posts. So I realized I needed to scale up. And what I learned was a lesson that I didn't learn in the beginning was that, a piece of content, it's like people think of it like the old days, Ernest Hemingway in front of the typewriter, typing it out and then pulling the paper off the thing. It's done. And today it's so different. It's like a process. You know what I mean? There's like coming up with ideas. There's finding the keyword for every topic. There's outlining. There's writing it, there's optimizing it, there's designing it, there's editing it, there's publishing it, there's promoting it. It's actually like a 10-step process. And the most important part to me, the part that I was always reluctant to scale, was the writing part. Because I was like, I don't want anyone else to write my stuff, because people can sense when someone else is writing. They just have that sixth sense, like this, he didn't write this. You know what I mean? People just have a good sense about that, and I never wanted to do that. And I realized, like, if it's a 10-step process, I can still do that one step and get help with the rest. And that's how I was able to scale, is get help with those other steps. I'm still super involved with every step. As a control freak, like, I want to be involved in every step, which is probably bad, but at least I can let go a little bit and let other people help me, which has helped me scale. So then I can get up and write instead of getting up and doing like topic research, which someone else can do and help me with.
So we got some questions rolling on Facebook. One of them is in regards to your team. So can you talk a little bit about who you have helping you out, and like who's responsible for what along the process?
Sure. Yep. So right now I have a full-time person that's more or less, for lack of a better like title, a content coordinator. And what he does is make sure all our content projects are happening like on time, every step is happening. And that includes being on top of me to make sure I deliver stuff on time. And for example, we have a topic, like we have a post coming out next month, let's say. He will make sure that the draft is in on time. Then he'll edit it and make sure all the screenshots are done. And then he'll make sure that the designs are in for any visuals that are included or illustrations. Then he'll make sure it's coded. And he actually does the coding, so that's his part. And he'll code up the guide to make sure it's done. Or if we're doing a study, he'll make sure like the date is in at a certain date, and then the charts are in. And then we write the PDF for the methods, and then that gets done. It's actually super important for like any large scale content that you're doing, is to have that content coordinator. I don't know, it needs a better title. Maybe you can come up with something better. It sounds kind of lame. But that's basically what it is, kind of like a switchboard operator that's making sure like all these little pieces, those steps that I just outlined are happening on time, almost like a COO role, but just for content. And that's actually the most important person, in my opinion, because that person makes sure all the trains run on time and everything's getting published. Like we've never missed a publish date, and it's not because of me. If it was up to me, we missed back in the day when I was doing myself. We missed like, dude, so many times. We'd be like, oh, it's not ready. It's not ready to go. You know, it needs a couple more weeks of work. And that's why we never, that's why I'd publish like some years, we publish 8 posts a year, literally. Now we're doing like 25 a year. Still not that much, but a lot more, like 3 times more.
So you
So that's the,
sorry, I was
sorry.
gonna say, so you have a calendar built out for the whole year. I mean, how does your content calendar work?
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically built out. It's not that hard, man. It's only like 20, how many, 52 weeks in a year. So we do 2 a month, every 2 weeks. So it's like 25 posts a year. So the content calendar is pretty much built out for almost the whole year, like 8 to 9 months in advance, sometimes 10. And then it's just a matter of like me writing the draft, and then it goes off to the content coordinator. He makes sure all the other stuff happens, which includes screenshots, and visuals, and illustrations, and coding. And if we do studies, and make sure like the data is being, analyzed and all that stuff. So that person has become like an increasingly important role.
Yeah.
And it's one that I think like more content teams, I don't hear talk a lot about. A lot of people like writers and editors, but there's that like central processing unit that makes sure everything's happening. Super important, man, because I'm bad at that. Like I'm bad at being organized. So it's good to have that person there. It's like on top of things.
Yeah, I agree. I think that role is incredibly important too. I mean, it sounds like you've found a unicorn, somebody who's got left and right brain, because I see that role as somebody who also needs to understand how content should be formatted. That's something that I'm super picky about myself. Like, just in terms of how sentences are written, how they're edited, how headings are formatted, how images, how they look, all that stuff, spacing, all that stuff, right? I mean, it's really important for someone to know how to do that. But if you have somebody who also knows how to lay the code to that, it sounds like you got yourself a winner. Those people are very hard to find. But in regards to, so we talked a little bit about strategizing, building a content calendar, having a team to help you support and scale all this stuff up. What about promotion? Are you at the point now where you've got so much authority that when you publish something, it's just a matter of pushing it on social media, some light advertising, and then you're picking up links? I mean, how does that promotion process work for you now?
Yeah, well, the number one thing is the email list. So yeah, it's almost, it's not quite at that point, but it's getting there. When I first started, I was sending like 300 emails per blog post to promote it. And now it doesn't really make sense because the email list is like 150,000. So, by a push of a button, you can send an email to 150,000 interested people. It's like, does it really make sense to be using like hunter.io to find these people's emails and send them out and personalize them? Like, hey, I noticed you shared such and such. I thought you'd be interested in whatever. So the promotion side is definitely a lot easier now. It used to be like 80% of my time, or maybe like 75% of my time. 25% was writing, and now it's probably like 10%. So yeah, it's definitely a lot easier, and that's why I recommend building an email list, because besides all the ridiculous benefits that come from building an email list, one of the most underrated is content promotion. That you have an army of people waiting to hear about your next post that will open it and read it and share it. And dude, it's such a powerful thing, way more, in my opinion, than social.
And how do you maintain that email list? Because I've got about 45,000 on my email list, but a lot of them, I'm having a
Nice.
now with deliverability. Are you running it through, like, are you doing a lot of cleansing processes for your email? Are you zero bounce, no bounce, whatever it is? I mean, how do you maintain that to make sure that people are actually, number one, the email's getting delivered, number two, they're getting opened and consumed?
Yeah, dude, that's something I struggle with for a long time, and I'm huge with list hygiene now. So I never did any list hygiene, which is basically deleting people that don't open your emails for years. And my open rates were like 40%, 30%, 20%, 18%, 16%. They were like, dude, they're like 12%. I'm thinking, what's going on? Like, people suddenly hate my emails. And as it turned out, it was this vicious cycle that you get into. People don't open your emails, and then Gmail says people don't like those emails, so then they don't deliver them, and then people don't open them, and they're like, people really don't like them, and then they don't deliver them even more. It's like you get in this vicious cycle, like Fat Bastard talks about in Austin Powers too, where it's like, I'm fat because I'm unhappy, and I'm happy because I'm fat. It's the same idea. You get into this vicious cycle. And I deleted like 15,000 subscribers in one day for people that hadn't opened in like months. My email list was so stale, man. I had so many subscribers that hadn't opened in like literally like 18 months. And once I deleted them, the next email that went out had a little higher open rate. And then from there, it was all gravy. And now I delete people that haven't opened the last 4 months every single month. So every month, open AWeber and delete people that haven't opened in 4 months. And deliverability is great, man. Now it's like, 38% or 40% on a 150,000 person email list, which is pretty good. It's mostly because of deliverability, honestly.
Yeah.
Because even if people want to see your emails, if they don't get them, they go to spam. It's that's how it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. To the point where like we were going to migrate accounts. We use ActiveCampaign, and I was going to migrate accounts, but the switching costs were just too high. So now we're going through that cleansing process now. And I really do believe that it's one of the most important things that marketers aren't talking about is like email list health, because you spend so much time and effort. And also too is like understanding, like something that I've always respected and love about what you do with your website is it's highly focused, right? You go to the website for SEO content and there's really only one call to action across the website, right? That's to get onto your email list, right? Which email list then pushes into selling your trainings. I think that's something that a lot of marketers struggle with is focus and only promoting one thing at a time. And the thing is that like on my site, I've got an email opt-in for like an ebook. I've got an email opt-in for, like all these different tools that we have and stuff like that. And the problem is that when people are coming in from all these different sources, they then all get churned into one list that the email platforms know this, and they have like a quality score, and then they just don't get delivered. And you spend all this time and effort building these email lists, and you're looking at KPIs for like how much it costs you to get an email, but it's really like 10x that, because depending on where that's coming from. So that's something that we've been going through a lot of is segmenting our businesses, segmenting our email lists, breaking those out, and just getting rid of a lot of people that are just not there and trying to recapture them in some other way. Also moving off of email a little bit, like we have a Slack community that we've been growing that's been going really well, just trying to get off of email as much as possible and focus those email lists on the reason why people came, like why do they sign up? That's all they want to see, I think that's incredibly powerful. And I see that a lot too. I mean, I want to talk a little bit about YouTube because your success on YouTube has been amazing. And it's actually gone like a little bit contradictory to a lot of what I've seen in terms of YouTube advice. A lot of people are saying like public daily. A lot of people are pushing more of like the clickbait style videos, but yours you're like straight SEO, keyword research. And then I do believe, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong again, but just the power of your email list and authority, pushing people to those videos and getting them to actually watch and staying engaged has really helped. I mean, do you think that your YouTube success has kind of started with your blog that pushed over to YouTube, or is it something?
Absolutely.
YouTube? Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. In terms of the list hygiene thing, I couldn't agree with you more, man, about cleaning up the list. That it's a hard thing, because you work so hard to get an email subscriber, and then you're like, I'm just gonna delete this person. Trust me, man, that was the hardest button I ever pushed in my life. It was like 15,000 subscribers. Like, oh my God, dude, when I was starting the blog, I would have killed for 15,000 subscribers. Now I'm deleting them with one click. But it was the best thing I ever did. And I'm not alone. You're not alone. I've talked to other people about it, because it's just not an interesting topic compared to building an email list. Like, oh, it's so fun. Here's how to get like 10,000 subscribers. No one wants to read the email list, the blog post about how to delete 10,000 subscribers. And so much of what's big in marketing is just what people are talking about and writing about. It's not necessarily what's the most important. And email is actually the best example of that, because email is king for everything. And no one's nonsense like that. And I think at first, having a blog, having an audience, and then pushing those people to YouTube really helps. It helps because you're just like, when you start a YouTube channel, I have a lot of people that watch my videos, like, I'm just getting started. I don't know how to get started. I'm like, damn, that must suck, because you're one of like a million YouTube channels, and you don't even know how to create good videos yet. And I feel like it's kind of a cheat code that when I first started, my videos weren't even that good. but I was able to push people to them and that helped them. Today, I'm able to, like, from experience, figure out what works well on YouTube. And, like, for videos that are out for a while, I would say literally 98% of those views are from people that are on YouTube that have never heard of me before. That's the power of YouTube.
Yeah.
And 2% are from current subscribers, email subscribers, things like that. But it takes a while to learn what works on YouTube. And it also helps to have that initial little push from your existing audience.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube is a huge factor. I've done okay on YouTube, but I know that I've held myself back for a lot of reasons. I don't really put that much time and effort into like planning. It's more, for me, YouTube is kind of like video comes natural to me, so it's more conversational. It's done well, but
right.
It's awesome to look at what you've done on YouTube because I always ask myself too, like, is SEO kind of capped itself out in terms of popularity? And in terms of what people want to see, is it moving more towards advertising and content, things along that nature? But then I look at your channel and it's like, no, it's still the same level of popularity, It's just,
well, free traffic, people, there's something about that, right? When you're like, I want to get traffic to my site, how do I do it? Well, I could pay for it or I could get it for free. So there's always going to be people that are into SEO.
Without a doubt.
And I've always enjoyed your channel, man. One of my favorite things from your videos is one video, it cracks me up, man, where you do the thing where you're like in front of a chalkboard and you're going to transition and you do the snap your fingers, but it doesn't work at first. You're like, can you do it again? Dude, that's so good. I still remember that. That
was an old one. Yeah. It's funny.
It's so good.
The more you do these things, the more you learn and the more you get into it. And it's crazy. But we do have a lot of questions here on Facebook, but a lot of them are asking pretty specific for like almost consulting help, which I think is a good time to ask you, because I'm not going to ask these questions too. They're a little bit too specific. You're clearly on boss moves now, drinking wine.
Something like that.
But like, why is it that, because I'm sure you get inundated with consulting requests, right? Not even like, hey, do our SEO, but hey, Brian, we're willing to pay you a lot of money to help us out with this problem. And you don't take them on, correct? I mean, you don't do any consulting.
Correct. None.
You want to just talk about that? I think this is really important, really, really important. And like, again, going back to what I was talking about, focusing. But yeah, I mean, talk a little bit about why you don't do any sort of client work or consulting.
Okay, so first, I mean, the reason I don't do client work is because I think client work is bad, or it's a bad business model, because I've done it. The reason I don't do it is because as a consultant, it's not scalable at all. Like, if someone was like, hey, will your company do consulting with me, or will your company do SEO services? That's totally different. But everyone is asking me like, Brian Dean, will you do consulting? And it's not scalable because there's only one of me and there's a lot of people that I could do consulting for, and there's only so many hours in a day. And about, 4 years ago, I was just like, you know what? I just won't do it. It doesn't make sense. I hated it too. It's another reason. But the number one reason was it wasn't scalable. I was like, if I'm going to scale this business, it needs to be like something that's scalable. Services are actually more scalable than consulting because you can have other people do the work. Like if you're on an agency, but if you're doing consulting, people are like, I want to talk to you, Brian Dean. That's not scalable at all. And I was doing it because it was partially because it was easy money, because like you said, people will pay a lot. But I hated it because, first of all, I felt like a dancing monkey, to be honest with you. It was like someone's paying you a lot of money to get on the phone. And I would get in the consulting call and be like, man, I better deliver for them because they're paying me so much goddamn money for this hour. I better really be an insanely, and it was so much pressure. It was so much pressure. I hated it. And at some point I was like, wait, I hate this. It's not scalable. It doesn't help me grow. There's no long-term benefit. It's literally like an hour and then I get cash, which is just put in the bank and don't even notice it's there. What is the point of doing consulting? So once I shut that off, it was like the best thing I ever did. Because, dude, I remember looking at my calendar. I'd have these consulting calls scheduled, and I would look at them, and I would use like The Secret. I don't even like The Secret, that book. And I would try to like visualize them canceling. I'd be like, maybe if I visualize them canceling, they'll cancel. That's how much I freaking hated it. Versus a call with you, I'm like, dude, Ryan Stewart, Facebook Live, like, I want to do this shit. I'm in the freaking wine country right now. I'm like, I want to do this no matter what. It's a completely different thing. I want to do it, so I'm doing it. And consulting was the complete opposite. I was dreading the calls like the whole day.
Yeah.
So
100%
that's,
agree.
hope that makes sense.
And that's really important for people too, is that I think a lot of people don't consider, I call it the PIA factor, the pain in the ass factor, of like the repercussions that doing things that you don't want has on everything else, right? Because just like you said, if that's what's on your mind, consuming your mind, then like you're not working on other stuff. You might be getting $2,000 for an hour to do consulting, but like if you're sitting there thinking about it like 5 times a day, that's dipping into your time still. You know what I'm saying? And I think also to being a course creator myself, and you obviously being a course creator, that once you understand that the way that you scale consulting is through courses. That's it. And it's like you make a course, people ask for consulting. It's like, hey, I have a course that's on that exactly. You know, like take the course. And then what I'll do on top of that is I'll charge additional, like after you go through the course, then you can pay me for like a Zoom call where we'll kind of do more of like a, you know, we'll go through the course a little bit together type stuff. But even that,
you'd be surprised how many people, man. Ryan, you make a good point, man. Sorry.
No, please.
That how many people that reach out for consulting or end up buying the course. The conversion rate's crazy. Yeah. Even though it's a total, you don't think it makes sense. You're like, I used to look at it like a Hail Mary, like, oh, I'll just throw it up and be like, well, I don't do consulting. So rather than just saying I don't do consulting, good luck. I don't do consulting, but I had this course. A lot of people ended up buying it because I think I realized at the end of the day, those people don't necessarily want consulting. They want help from you. And even if that help is this like non-personal course, even a software product, if you're like, hey, I have this SaaS product that, you know, has the whole process that I use, and I feel like that would also convert well, and that has done really well, man. When we get consulting requests, I used to send them off to different agencies and stuff, and now, except for one, you know, if someone that wants services is different, but if they want consulting, I usually say, have this course, and it converts really well.
Yeah, no, it really does. And the thing is too, is that once you start selling courses and you're like, okay, so our course, the Blueprint Training, is $3,000 for lifetime access.
Nice.
I could sell, I usually do like $1,000 an hour for consulting, but it's the same thing. It's like that course, it's just like, like, why would I spend my time thinking about something else as opposed to like, I have a course, it's a product, it's done. I just have to focus on selling that.
Right.
And my time is much better spent focused on selling that product, which is going to scale. And I can sell 10 of those for every one consulting deal I see. Like it kind of becomes a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it is really hard.
But you have to go through that though. Like you have to do it. That's the thing. I had to do it and like be like, what am I doing with my life to get there?
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. I've been involved in a couple of business models now, and there's just nothing like courses, man. It's like to the point where I've literally probably spent the last 4 months of 100% of my time. I'd say 90% of my time focused on the training and the course and building that out, because I really do believe, I mean, you've done over $1 million in sales from courses. So, but like, I even think that's low. I think that the cap on what you can do for courses is really limitless. Like there's so much money in training, and especially if you have a quality product, that goes without saying. You have to have a good course, but then all the other stuff that you can make on top of that to make it an actual business and not just like a perpetual launch. It's like if you see what like this, I don't know how people feel about these people, but like the Sam Evanses of the world, the traffic and funnels people, I don't know if you know them at all, but like they're doing 20 million a year plus on online,
right.
You know, it's there, you know, and it's also too just like working with clients. I still have a small agency. We'll work with clients every now and again, but when the people that take your course and go through it and consume it, like their level of gratitude is so much higher than somebody who's like, do our fucking keyword research. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely, man.
And I'm able to do things like this that like you said, I enjoy doing these things. I'm talking to people that I like, that I'm, you know, and this helps to sell the course eventually, you know, like this stuff is all part of
right.
it, you know? So,
yeah, it's a great business model. It's an amazing business. And the thing is, the funny thing is, it's still a little bit underground because everyone's doing SaaS, right? Everyone, dude. If you're like, it's either services or SaaS. Like those are the two options. Like, okay, I'm either going to help people do the work for them, or I'm going to create software that helps them do the work. But there's this third category, which is like online training. And that's not just courses. It can be webinars, it can be whatever, but it's a scalable thing. And that's why I like this Exploring Topics newsletter, because it's not a course, but it's still scalable, selling content, selling information in the same way. And dude, there's something about that business model. It's like so good. The tricky part, the only problem is that I've found the big downside is that it's really hard to create a 0 to 1 product like Peter Thiel 0 to 1 in the course space. Because like you have an SEO course, I have an SEO course, like everyone in the mom has an SEO course. It's hard to create a new course. Like there's no other course like this. You're always like kind of competing on features and pricing and personality and the guru. And one thing that's cool about software is like you can really create something that's totally different, like Uber and Airbnb.
Well, yeah, clearly, and that's the thing too, is that I have my hand in the software market. My partner and I, we just took a WordPress plugin to market. I don't foresee that doing much at all. It's just kind of something that we just built kind of for fun. But we've also got another piece of software, more of kind of like a managed service app that we're going to then eventually turn into consumer facing. But the challenge with software is that it's really hard, man. Like it's really, 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 really hard to come up with an idea, to build it, to execute it. And I agree, but like the good thing about software is it can scale without, you can completely take yourself out of software business and scale to another level. My training course, your training course, they run through us, you know? But I do also think that that's an advantage. I'm not saying anything bad about the Moz course, the SEM Rush course. I think they're probably great. I haven't taken them, but at the end of the day, people, like you said, people want to be trained by a person, not by a company, you know? So I think that's where
absolutely, man.
That's where you can win with a training course is you know, for lack of a better term, like the personal brand is what people are much more attracted to, but it's not necessarily the case with software. Although I read the book by Russell Brunson, Expert Secrets, on a flight the other day, and he was talking about how, I didn't know this, but ClickFunnels is the fastest growing software in the history of software. I didn't know that. That's what he claimed in the book. But basically what he said is the reason why they were able to grow so fast was because they marketed it as a learning course. So basically they sold a $49 course. And so all their ads were paying down just that customer acquisition cost. So, and then the course was basically teaching them how to build landing pages using ClickFunnels. So then people were becoming subscribers. So he was saying that they were able to scale so quickly because they were getting paid to acquire customers because of the training up front. And then the training was then selling them. I mean, just something you might want to consider with your future courses in terms of like integrating exploding topics into it. You know, something that I've been very cognizant about too is kind of like connecting our products and services through these courses. And like, again, I do fully realize that people are more drawn to a person than a company. So when I advertise content on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, I'm able to attract a lot more people. And then once I have that attention, I'm able to divert that in the right direction in terms of like software services or training courses. You know what I mean?
For sure, man. Yeah. If you look at it, dude, even Apple, dude, I mean, he's been dead for 10 years, but everyone associates Apple with Steve Jobs and Microsoft with Bill Gates and Facebook with Zuckerberg. And those like personal, I wouldn't even call them, because those aren't personal brands. Obviously they're even dude, ClickFunnels is so big, man. Like Russell was saying, it's huge, way bigger than him, but it helped and still helps to have a person tied to it, because people buy from people, and especially courses, man. People buy, like for me, when I buy a course, like who's the instructor? I don't care if it's a brand, you know what I mean? Like Apple came out with a UX course. You think, oh, that would be a slam dunk. Like they're amazing at user experience and user interfaces, but I really would be hesitant to buy it unless I knew the actual person behind the program. Unless that person was like Joni Ives or something that built the iPhone, then I'd probably be like, nah, it's just some random person. I need to kind of know and like that person to buy a course. I also buy a lot of courses. I don't know about you, but I buy tons of courses, and I always make sure that the instructor is someone that I trust and that is in the trenches doing the work.
Yeah, I think that's actually why, you know, Ahrefs has done so well in the past couple of years with like hiring Tim Sulo and, you know, allowing him to be, you know, in front of a camera. They've got a bunch of people now doing a really good job of kind of, I guess, humanizing that brand and that company. And like, you can't tell me that they haven't grown exponentially because of that, you know? And I think that's incredibly important. But anyways, man, I don't want to.
Man, Josh and all those other, you're right, man. You're absolutely right. Because that was their only, like their product was amazing. Yeah. The only thing they were lacking was that personal brand that ran Fishkin. You know, he's such a charismatic guy. They had that at Moz. Yep. And they didn't have that at Ahrefs. And I was like, man, what can we do? And yeah, you're right, man. They did a great job at humanizing the brand.
Absolutely. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. The sun's going down out there. I'll let you get back to your wine. Why don't you Give a final plug, man. Tell the people how to find you. I'm sure they already know, but plug your stuff, man.
Yeah, the best way to find me is to go to backlinko.com and sign up for the newsletter, because I send a ton of exclusive SEO strategies and tips that I don't share on the blog. And also check out explodingtopics.com. If you want to find topics that are blowing up, people don't know about yet, you can create blog posts before they get big, or YouTube videos before they get big, or whatever you want to do. It's a great resource for that.
Awesome. All right, brother, man. I appreciate your time. Enjoy your
No
wine.
problem, Ryan.
Enjoy Portugal.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Cheers.